Hello friends and Jai Hind. I'm with you once again with the 8th episode of SENA. And before I start, thank you so much for your response and feedback. When I thought of a topic for this particular episode, I sounded a few youngsters who stay around and I said, look, I'm going to talk about the organization, the broad structure of the Indian Army. So some of them said, sir, that may not be very interesting. I said, well, that's a challenge then. Let me see how I can make it relatable and make it a little more interesting for those of you amongst whom I intend to create awareness. Well, before I start with the topic per se, the answer to the question of the last two questions that I had posed in the last episode, a number of you have answered correctly. Congratulations to you. Captain Gurbachan Singh Salaria is the officer to have been awarded a Paramveer Chakra in United Nations peacekeeping operations in Congo in 1961, and he belonged to 3-1GR. आप में से कईयों ने कहा है Gurkha Rifles. Yes, indeed, that is right, but you must also know there are a number of Gurkha regiments. In each one of them there are a few battalions. इसके बारे में कभी मैं बात करूँगा. And the answer to the second question was the Sikh regiment, a wonderful, valiant, great regiment, infantry regiment of the Indian Army. Right. So we start today with the broad structure of the Indian Army. इसके पहले मैं आपको बता चुका हूँ about the roles and tasks, and before that the components, arms and services, ranks, etc. So let us proceed further in a sort of a sequential manner. Many of you would have heard on television defense experts using terms like battalion, division, formation, even colloquially Paltan. तो क्या हैं ये terms? How much do you understand these terms? Command भी सुना होगा आपने, Northern Command की बात होती है, Chinar Corps की बात होती है. So I'll just try and run you through these elementary terms. Well, at the apex of all the three defense forces is our Supreme Commander, the Honorable President of India. We have the Ministry of Defense, which has three headquarters known as the IHQ of MOD. MOD stands for Ministry of Defense, IHQ of MOD Army, IHQ of MOD Navy, and IHQ of MOD Air Force, which is nothing but Army headquarter, Navy headquarter and Air Force headquarter. The full form is Integrated Headquarter of Ministry of Defense Army. Right. We have the Chief of Army Staff, who is the head of the Indian Army, the operational and functional head of the Indian Army, a 4-star general. I have already spoken about this in the rank structure. Do not please confuse this with the CDS. The present CDS indeed is an Army general, a 4-star general, but that is not part of the Army organization. That is an all-arms appointment. It can well be, the next appointment can be anybody, we don't know, Army, Air Force, Navy. So you have the chief, and now under the Army, the Army headquarters has its own directorates, its own branches. I will not go into that. Neither will I go into what is known as the Higher Defense Organization. वो इस वक्त आपके इंटरेस्ट का नहीं है. तो हमारी आर्मी हेडक्वार्टर की बात करने के बाद हम बात करेंगे. Under the Army headquarters, there are commands. There are 6 regional commands and 1 Army Training Command. Now, commands आपने सुना होगा, Northern Command, Eastern Command, Western Command. These are headed by a gentleman known as the Army Commander, also known as the GOC in C, the General Officer Commanding in Chief. He's a 3-star general, and the commands also in operations or in wartime can be called as armies, the Northern Army, the Western Army, etc. Now each command has a few corps. Corps spelled as CORPS. कई दफ़ा मैंने देखा है कुछ लोग CORE कहते हैं. Now a corps is again a big formation. मैं आगे चल के बताऊंगा what's a formation, which is commanded by a lieutenant general who's also a 3-star general, and he is known as the corps commander or GOC of so and so corps. आपने सुना होगा हाल में फायर एंड फ्यूरी कोर, चिनार कोर एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट. अभी हाल में यू मस्ट ऑल्सो हैव हर्ड द जनरल PGK, लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल PGK मेनन हैज टेकन ओवर फ्रॉम लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल हरिंदर as the GOC of 14 Corps, the corps which has most been in the news because of a issue with China. तो ये होता है कोर. अब यहाँ पर I will ask you my first quiz question of the day. I have found that most of you are able to answer the questions that I put forth, so this time I'll try and make it a little, not complex, I would say you are too smart to be to get fooled by that, but I'll ask something which you may possibly not find in Google. So you may have to consult your army friends or rack your own brains. So my question is, what is the number 2 in the command and corps called, and what is his rank in the command and headquarter, and what is his rank in the corps headquarter? Now, a corps has under it a number of divisions, and a division is commanded by a major general who is a 2-star general. He is known as the GOC, General Officer Commanding of the division, also referred to as the division commander. Now, a division is the smallest composite force, which is an all-arms force. You would remember that I had once spoken about arms and services. So a division has components. An infantry division, for example, will have components of armored, artillery, engineers, signals, and various services like ASC, ordnance, etc. that I had spoken about. It is capable of conducting a defensive or offensive battle on its own. So I must add, there are divisions: armored division, there is artillery division, there is infantry division, there is mountain division. अभी हम उसमें नहीं जाएंगे. We then have, under the division, we have brigades. Now, a brigade is commanded by a brigade commander, who is a brigadier, a 1-star officer, and he is referred to as, colloquially, as the commander. And a brigade has got infantry battalions. If it's an infantry brigade, an armored brigade will have armored regiments and mechanized infantry battalions. An RT brigade likewise will have RT regiments. We have engineer brigades. We have likewise air defense brigades, etc. Now, so brigade has got battalions in it, and also certain elements of supporting arms, because जैसा मैंने आपको पहले के एपिसोड्स में बताया है, कोई भी लड़ाई अकेला एक आर्म या एक सर्विस नहीं लड़ता है. And now we come to the cutting edge unit, cutting edge army organization, and that is the battalion. Now what is a battalion? आपने सुना होगा this battalion, that battalion, कुमाऊं की battalion, राजपूत की battalion, armored regiment का unit, artillery की units. So battalion is a unit. It is commanded, an infantry battalion or any battalion or equivalent is commanded by a colonel, and he is known as the commanding officer or the CO, also referred to as the tiger. Tiger वैसे दूसरे formations किसी भी force के boss को कहते हैं, but a commanding officer is particularly known as a tiger, and also sometimes referred to as the old man. Now, there's an irony here. Today, the commanding officers are young, 35, 36, 37 years old. To call them old man is a little bit of an irony. वहाँ तक तो ठीक है, but calling his wife an old lady, watch out there. That can be a problem there. Still on the lighter side, there is one more acronym you got to watch out for. Commanding officer's wife, COW. What does that make? Cow. Don't call her that. Right. A battalion then has companies. An infantry battalion has rifle companies. And a company is commanded by a major, a field officer. Likewise, an armored regiment has squadrons. Squadron is also commanded by a major. An artillery regiment has batteries. A battery is also commanded by a major. Now, company commander के बारे में just going back, I would also like to say that आज कल थोड़ा सा अपग्रेडेशन होने के कारण लेफ्टिनेंट कर्नल्स also command companies. ये सब यूनिट कहलाते हैं. Below the unit, whatever you have is known as a sub unit. Company के under we have platoons, or in the armored regiment we have troops. Now a platoon is ideally commanded by a junior commissioned officer, a subedar or a naib subedar, but it is not unusual for a platoon in operations to be commanded by a young officer, a lieutenant or a captain. Now below the company you have platoons, as I said, and below the platoon you have sections. A section is the smallest subunit. It has only 10 men and it is led by an NCO, a हवलदार. आपको याद होगा मैंने हवलदार के बारे में आपको बताया था. And actually below the section also there are small elements which are known as detachments, who operate and man various weapons. For example, we have a mortar, 81mm mortar detachment comprising 3 men. Machine gun detachment, MMG or LMG, that comprises 2 men. तो इस तरीके से मैंने आपको बताया कि 2 आदमियों की एक टुकड़ी से लेकर के right up to the army headquarters, how is the army structured. A couple of things here which you would do well to know. Formation, I had used the term formation in the beginning. A brigade is a formation, and why is it a formation? Because it's a formation of a number of units. A division is a formation, a corps is a formation, a command is a formation, but a battalion is a unit. और सब यूनिट होते हैं बटालियन के अंदर, जैसे कंपनी, प्लेटून, सेक्शन, ये सारे सब यूनिट्स होते हैं. There is one more facet which I have not covered or mentioned today, and that is the static formations. आपने सुना होगा एरिया हेडक्वार्टर्स होते हैं, सब एरिया हेडक्वार्टर्स होते हैं, रेजिमेंटल सेंटर्स होते हैं, हमारे ट्रेनिंग एस्टैब्लिशमेंट्स होते हैं, ट्रेनिंग स्कूल्स एक्सेट्रा, कैटेगरी ए एस्टैब्लिशमेंट्स होते हैं जैसे इंडियन मिलिट्री एकेडमी एक्सेट्रा. तो ये एक अलग चेन होती है, इसके बारे में आई विल प्रॉब्ली टेल यू सम टाइम. These videos are prepared extensively with the help of Rishabh Pachauri, my son, who's a working boy, but on my insistence he takes out time. He's a youngster and he does all this editing, the putting in of the pictures, etc. So kudos to Rishabh. Now my second question, which I promised you that I'd ask at the end of the episode, again I'm showing you a picture on your screen, and this time this picture is from my personal collection. So I want you to identify the weapon which I have circled, which this Jawan is carrying. I want you to give me the full name of this weapon. So right friend, I wind up for today. एक चीज मैं और बोलना चाहूँगा at the cost of making this episode a little longer. This particular channel is not designed or not meant specifically for SSB or entrance examination for the various defense forces. Yes, you may find some information which is useful, but I would like to clarify that this is a non-commercial channel, and there are a number of good channels which you'll find on YouTube for SSB etc. Do watch them. So thank you all, stay safe, take care, Jai Hind.